Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So yeah, we are still stuck waiting for a ban list, which is kind of annoying. I think that there's a decent chance that we won't actually end up getting one until after the NAWCQ, but who knows. Anyways, for today we're taking a look at a few cards that have been trending on the market over the last couple of weeks or so for a variety of reasons. Some of these are meta related, while others are because of some support that should be coming in the future. We don't have any ridiculous huge price spikes in this one, but rather these are going to be smaller, more under the radar movements that you may have missed, but should definitely be aware of for the next event that you're attending. Let's get started. Kicking things off, we're going to take a look at Gimmick Puppet Scizor Arms. So this card is a pretty average looking card. On normal summon, it sends a Gimmick Puppet from your deck to the graveyard. So in the Infinite Forbidden, we are getting some new Gimmick Puppet cards, and they actually have a really consistent way to FTK your opponent now, so that might be really scary to play against. Definitely something to look out for. Scizor Arms is, I believe, just a one-of for the deck. You can search for Scizor Arms mid-combo, and one of the new Xyz monsters gives you an extra normal summon, and then you can dump Jury Doll to get an extra body onto the field there as well. So there are several older cards for Gimmick Puppets that we've seen trending on the market over the last couple of months, ever since the Gimmick Puppet support was first revealed, because they're useful in the deck. But the interesting one that is now trending is Scizor Arms. It only has one printing as a super rare from back in Number Hunters, so this is quite an old card at this point, and it just has the one printing. This card, when the support was first announced, had gone up to around $5 to $6. It cooled back down to around the $3 mark or so. Now, however, that the set is almost upon us, the card has shot back up within the last few days and now sits at $10 each on TCG Player. If you're really committed to wanting to play Gimmick Puppets, it's probably fine if you pick up this card just as a one-of. Just don't hold on to too many extra copies of it, because it feels like something that's very likely to be reprinted in the next OTS tournament pack. Up next, we have Ademancipator Risen Dragite. Now this card is technically a generic level 8 synchro monster. It doesn't have any requirements for its materials. However, the card can provide a spell or trap negate as long as you have a water monster in your graveyard. Now, Ice Barriers are a deck that's able to make a lot of different synchro plays. I believe that level 8 is sort of an awkward one to go into. Definitely possible though, and Dragite is probably one of the best ones you have available, especially if you're locked into water monsters. Now, unfortunately, Ice Barriers don't really play any rocks, so you can't use Ademancipator Risen Dragite's first effect most of the time. But if you play Nibiru, you would actually get to bounce an opponent's card with Dragite as well if you manage to reveal a Nib, so I guess go for it if you can. Anyways, Dragite has two different printings. It was an ultra rare in the tins from a couple of years ago. That printing is still pretty cheap and affordable. However, because Yu-Gi-Oh players like to play max rarity, we've actually seen the secret rare versions of Dragite go up a bit. It was around $2 to $3 before, but it's now a solid $5 to $7 secret rare. Personally, I actually found that I like the ultras because so much of the rest of the deck can be ultra, and I like everything to match. But if you don't really care, just be aware that this is now a great time to offload the secrets for some extra value while you can. Here's an extremely random one. It's Photon Delta Wing. So back when Maze of Millennia first came out, everyone was obviously after Bonfire from there, but there wasn't that much else good value in the set aside from that. And really, it did feel like either you pull Bonfire or it's a complete bust. One of the easiest cards to overlook was Photon Delta Wing. This is a level 4 monster that just summons another copy of itself from your hand or deck when it's normal summoned, but then it locks you into light monsters. Now honestly, I feel like this was just such a pointless feeling card at the time. I remember going through people's bulk from the set, and I just find a few of these every now and then. Technically, however, it is a Photon card, so you're able to use it alongside the whole Galaxy Eyes theme. Now over in the OCG, they have the Light Duelist pack, which has some Galaxy Eyes support in there. So the assumption is that players are getting ready for those cards by picking up Photon Delta Wing now. The other thing to note is that Bonfire is going down a lot in price relative to what it was back then, and players are probably looking for other cards from Maze of Millennia to potentially go up and balance out some of the value in the set. The collector's rare version of this card hasn't really moved. They're still around $20 each. However, the ultras were literally bulk before. They're now a solid $5 to $6 per copy. Nothing too insane, but definitely worth making note of. Expect this card to see another similar spike in price once the new Photon cards are eventually confirmed to be coming out here in the TCG. Moving on, this is a pretty cool one. It's Nightmare Griffin. So Griffin is a generic Link 4 monster that just requires 2 or more monsters with different names. pretty easy to make, so this card has two effects that are both quite useful. One of them is a continuous effect that stops monsters on the field from activating their effects unless they are linked, so against decks that don't play link monsters, this card could be pretty annoying to deal with. The other effect is that if it's link summoned, you can discard a card and then set a spell or trap from your graveyard to your side of the field, but it can't be activated this turn, and then it does have the usual nightmare bonus, where if this card is co-linked when you use that effect, you get to draw a card as well. So there are a few different reasons I'm thinking that this card might be starting to trend. The first is that some players are afraid of Appaloosa being banned, and this could be a decent generic rank 4 replacement. The second is that this card is a fiend, so Yubel could definitely make this, revive it off of something like Muckraker from the Underworld to really slow down your opponent when you're going first. And the final thing is that with so many players having access to Beatrice thanks to the Fiendsmith engine, Beatrice lets you dump any card, and then Griffin lets you set that card back. So this combo effectively could let you search for a card like Anti-Spell Fragrance or Rivalry of Warlords, cards that are unsearchable and limited that are supposed to be much more difficult to access. With Griffin, it's just the holos that are up. The secrets used to be $4 to $5, they're now $10 each. And then with the ultras, they're now $2 to $3 each as well. The other printing is the Genesis Impact Rares, which are of course still bulk right now. I definitely think that the secrets are the nicest printing available if you're able to afford them. Alright, I think this should be a relatively known card at this point. It's Spirit of Yubel, so a lot of eyes I think are on this card with the release of Phantom of Yubel from Terminal Revenge, which looks to make Yubel a top tier strategy. With all of the support that they got in Phantom Nightmare and Legacy of Destruction, the deck is really good in the OCG and should be good here as well, especially after the upcoming ban list. Spirit of Yubel has two extremely relevant effects. On special summon, it adds to your hand or sets to your field from the deck a card that mentions Yubel. Most of the time this is going to be Nightmare Pain. The other effect is that if this card is destroyed from anywhere, you can special summon a Yubel from your banished pile, hand, deck, or graveyard, and this isn't a once per turn effect. So if you destroy this card multiple times, you can bring out multiple bodies. Now, Spirit of Yubel was actually just a super rare in Phantom Nightmare, so this card was quite easy to find. However, with all of the attention that Yubel has been getting recently, and with lots of players assuming that Snake Eye will be hit soon, players are scrambling to pick up Yubel cards, and Spirit of Yubel is a 3 of that has already started to go up in price. This card used to only be $1 or so since it's just a super rare, but now we're seeing the card up at $3 to $4 each, and that's without the ban list even coming out yet. If you're planning on playing Yubel, make sure that you own your set of this card already because it isn't due for a reprint for quite a while, and if the deck is as dominant as people seem to be speculating, I could definitely see this card continuing to go up in price. I guess this is a somewhat related card here. I want to mention Verras, the Final Bringer of the End Times. Now this card is a generic rank 10 Xyz monster that is used in the Yubel strategy as well. So this card is an Omni Negate by detaching a material, then after you also get to destroy a card on the field. It also destroys a card if it attacks while it has a material, or if it's destroyed after being Xyz summoned as well. So yeah, Verras is pretty cool card for Yubel, which is able to make rank 10 monsters relatively easily. I think that this card is kind of under the radar right now because Yubel isn't exactly dominating the format, but we have to be a little bit forward looking here. After the next ban list, I think it's pretty safe to say that Yubel will at least be a pretty strong contender in the format. Now that said, Verras feels cheap for what it is. It's a secret rare from Legacy of Destruction, which is the newest core set, and right now it's only about $10 per copy. I think that with how little other value there is in Legacy of Destruction, this is a card that I could definitely see spiking in price relatively soon. Extra deck Omni Negates that are secret rares from core sets have a pretty good history of spiking in price, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see this card hit $20 to $25 down the road. Of course, this isn't a guarantee, because we could see Yubel hit unexpectedly, or maybe the deck just evolves in a completely different way from how it did in the OCG, but despite that, I feel like this is a card that you guys should probably own a couple copies of moving forward. Alright, and finally we have Ogdo Abyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord. So I'm not gonna lie guys, I have zero idea why this card's currently trending. I've looked around a ton, I can't find anything that's technically using this card right now. So the one thing I can think of is that technically, right, Ogdo Abyss is a generic monster and it's a board clear. So if you can just discard this card to the graveyard, you can tribute 3 monsters, bring it out, and then theoretically it could send almost all monsters on the field to the graveyard. The other cool thing is that it could technically be searched by King of the Feral Imps, which is a generic rank 4 Xyz monster that can search for any reptile from your deck, so maybe it could be very similar to how players are using Infernal Flame Banshee as a generic rank 4 to access the Nemesis cards, Of course, I could be completely wrong, so if you guys do know why exactly it is that this card's trending, make sure you let us know down in the comments. Price-wise, the collector's rare price has been pretty steady. The ultras are the ones that are moving upwards on TCG Player. This was a $2 to $3 card a few months ago, and it's now a solid $5 to $6 as of when I'm recording this video. Definitely a weird one. We're definitely going to have to wait a little bit to see exactly where it is that it pops up. Alright guys, that is all I have for today. Definitely some kind of weird ones. I don't know. There's a few cards on here. I definitely was not aware that they were trending until I was looking for cards to put in today's Market Watch, so I'm probably going to have to go through my bulk, try to find some of those cards later, and probably look to offload them relatively soon. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.